Hello, everybody. Andrew Field here. The first thing I want you to know is that the coronavirus really hasn't gone away in America, and it's only getting worse. Um, the Texas County morgue said they could no longer accept bodies. The rising cases in states are now seeing more fatalities because it's gone in a process. First, it was the cases going up, then it was the hospitalizations, and then the ICU bed capacities, and now the fatality rate. It isn't affecting the country equally. I think I've covered this, but states like Arizona, Florida, Texas, California, those are the main four hit. The Carolinas are hit hard. Alabama, Louisiana, Georgia, all of those states are hit really hard right now. New York, Illinois, some of the other places aren't hit as bad, but there still is a worry because all it takes is people come from those hard hit states to not as hard hit states, and then it could cause a problem. Autopsies found blood clots in all of the organs, like from coronavirus, the heart, the brain, the pancreas. So that's a new problem that we're finding out with coronavirus, and we're seeing that it's causing a lot more than just lung damage. UC Berkeley cases went up. The college said that frat and sorority parties were to blame for the surge. The daily case number on July 10th was 71,000. That was the highest ever. Florida Governor DeSantis held a press conference on coronavirus where he said new shipments of remdesivir, a drug that helps patients recover faster from COVID-19, were arriving in Florida, which was a very good thing to hear. Somebody interrupted one of his news conferences and called him shameful and said he should resign. And I highly respect that person for sharing that opinion because I agree with it. Um, from he was saying from the high COVID-19 cases and now 4,000, over 4,000 Floridians have died. The CDC estimates now that 40% of U.S. cases are from people who are asymptomatic. Trump wore a face mask for the first time in July while visiting wounded U.S. troops. I think it was a hospital. Um, on July 12th, Florida hit a record daily high of 15,000 cases. And to tell you how bad that is, because you may not know, India reports, I think, between 15,000 and 25,000 cases. I think around 15,000, up to 25,000, but I think they could report 15,000 cases in a day. And India is the fourth worst hit country by coronavirus with a billion people. And Florida is reporting the amount of cases, or did that day, that India would. As coronavirus cases soar, Trump aides try to discredit Dr. Fauci. Now, this doesn't make any sense. He just didn't. He may not have liked that Dr. Fauci got a lot of attention, but sorry, Mr. President, but people like to hear the experts right now, even if you don't. And Dr. Fauci is the top expert in the United States, so that is people that, I mean, that's a person that people will watch and listen to more than you, thankfully. The Los Angeles School District, the nation's second largest, along with the San Diego School District, said all classes will be taken online as cases in California keep rising. Those two districts were the two largest in California. California Governor Newsom also closed all indoor dining. He shut down bars and he closed gyms and churches in 30 counties. American Airlines is investigating Ted Cruz after someone tweeted a photo of Ted Cruz on an airplane without a mask. I hope that if they figure out that it actually happened, because his lawyer, I think, said something like he was drinking water and then he put it back on. I don't believe that. I hope that American Airlines either suspends him permanently or gives him like a 6 month ban from their airline. Trump commuted Roger Stone's 40-month prison sentence. Corruption alert. Attorney General Bill Barr agreed with the conviction of Roger Stone Robert S. Mueller, who conducted the Russia investigation, wrote an op-ed defending the special office's work and said Stone was still a convicted felon. And the great Mitt Romney spoke out against Trump's decision, saying it was, quote, unprecedented historic corruption. And he's the only president with some balls. I mean, the only Republican with some balls. And he's saying the right thing because it doesn't make any sense for why a president should be able to commute the president does have the power to do that with the Constitution to commute sentencing, but to do it for a felon that was defending him, it just is very wrong. Um, Chance the Rapper faced major blowback for supporting Kanye's presidential bid, which he should have. Kanye has not even filed the paperwork to run. He doesn't believe in vaccines. It just says a couple of the horrible traits about Kanye and why he would be a horrible president. Elon Musk originally supported Kanye's run, but he backed off from that. Senator John Kennedy, a Republican from Louisiana, said during a Fox interview, because it's always during a Fox interview that people say dumb things like this, "Those who oppose reopening schools can kiss my ass." That's what he says. So what an asshole. But many educators, teachers unions, parents, students, etc. worry about returning to the classroom because of the coronavirus pandemic. If they try to compare to Europe, and if Europe is more accepting of bringing everyone back, if you look at the European Union, their case level is near zero right now. They have effectively controlled the pandemic, so they don't have to worry about it too much, even though they probably will take precaution anyway. But with the United States, if you look at the graph, we have not only we haven't peaked yet. We're peaking right now. We were slowing down, but instead of flattening the curve like the European Union, we are the highest right now that we ever have. Well, like I told you, the 71,000 was the highest number, but we're treading around 60,000 cases a day being reported in the U.S., which is a really bad number. I think even Brazil is like 45,000, so it's really bad. Trump threatened to hold federal funds from schools that don't reopen, which is not a good sign. But this was a huge win. Student visas will no longer be denied over online-only classes. In other words, so international students will not be forced out of the U.S. over online schooling, which was what I talked about, I think, in my previous video with this ICE policy that was developed by the Trump administration. Excuse me. So I just want to talk a bit about reopening schools. I know that this is now a controversial topic because of Trump, but the people who oppose this are just thinking about safety. Because if we don't take this seriously, like Trump has this whole time, and if we just open all the schools and we don't have precautions, then thousands of Americans will start dying every day, I think. Because all it takes is just a couple outbreaks in a couple major universities, and that's hundreds sick. Then they go back to their families, or infect teachers or more elderly staff, and then those people start dying. It's really bad. The consequences that can come if we don't prepare this the right way. And the worst part is that Joe Biden, if he wins in November, will have to deal with this because of Trump. Like, Joe Biden won't be able to step in time because classes are going to be opening starting next month, and Joe Biden wouldn't get in until January. So I think everybody's on the same page with this whole reopening thing with the schools. I think everybody wants to reopen. It's just that some people are rightly putting public health in front of education because it always should be public health over education. You should want to be educated, but if there's a risk that you could die or get something that could kill somebody else, and you having to live with that guilt, then that should be a more higher priority than just coming back. I think if we do come back, there's got to be a lot of precautions. I know that schools are already adjusting to online just in case things go that way. And I think it's going to be hard for states that are hit really hard right now, like Arizona, California, Texas, Florida, to come back in the fall. I think it's just going to be hard for those states, sadly, because they didn't handle the virus well. I think with other states that aren't as badly hit, and I know it sucks because it creates an advantage if students in universities or high schools or whatever, are able to open and those other states aren't. But I think that, if that's the case, and, states, really hard hit states can open, but other states can, I think that's going to be a lot of lost funding for the universities, which would suck for them, but this would be their state's fault. Like, let's say for Florida, for example, if Florida, like the schools in Florida don't open because of how bad it is, if it's as bad as it is right now, if it stays that way for another month, which it could, um, it need to go down a good amount, I think, for schools to open safely. And yeah, I think that if Florida schools don't reopen, people will just need to, at least for colleges, people will need to go somewhere else in a different state that's handling the virus better. But I think, if we put some precautions in, we try to mitigate the risk, then potentially we can reopen in the fall. I mean, wearing masks, separating so desks aren't clumped together. I know they're talking about like different groups where some people come in one day, some people come in another day. My old district from my old high school, now that I'm graduated, I can say that. Um, my old district announced plans to do like kind of like a hybrid thing where it's some, different groups, and also certain times it's online, certain times you go in for class. And I think if people take that step, then it'll be a lot easier with high school, middle school, and elementary. The problem I have is with colleges because, you know, certain colleges, there's like 30,000, 40,000 people, and college isn't really built for social distancing or anything like that. It's built for packed things like packed arenas for sports and packed, classrooms and all that stuff. So I think there's going to need to be serious, what am I trying to say? Serious evaluations of safety and putting like measures to try and mitigate any risk for the spread of the coronavirus. I just hope that if we're going to reopen, we do it in a safe way. Um, Over 1,000 employees at the CDC signed a letter calling the agency to address ongoing acts of racism and discrimination against black employees. They call for CDC to declare racism a public health emergency. Burger King is improving its cow's low-carb diet by adding 100 grams of lemongrass to reduce their methane emissions by 33%, which I'm really proud of Burger King for that. And sorry, I just kind of skipped over the with the CDC letter. I'm really proud of those employees for putting that out there. And I think that, racism should be marked as a public health emergency. Like, if you're going by priority, obviously the coronavirus needs to be put as first priority because that's what's killing more people right now. But I think that you could make the argument that racism would also be up there as a public health emergency. I think it should be. But I just think that coronavirus needs to be our first priority right now. Biden talked about how he, unlike Donald Trump, would take the climate change crisis seriously, creating new jobs and improving infrastructure and transportation. Biden released a climate plan with a proposal to achieve entirely carbon pollution-free power by 2035, with a $2 trillion investment in green energy and infrastructure. And here's the thing: in the primary in March, I voted for Biden. And even though I liked Bernie more, there was two reasons. One of them was I think that Biden would attract more moderates and more people, and I didn't want Trump to win. So I think that Biden would have a better chance. And the other problem with Bernie I had was he didn't really have a way to pay for things, I don't think. Like Warren with her healthcare plan, she had that way to pay for things, but with Bernie it didn't really seem that way. And it seemed like the reason was because it would just be so much money for all the policies that he was like producing. And with Joe Biden, it didn't seem like he took that hard of a stance on climate change, but I knew that he was still going to put climate change as a big priority because he worked with Obama, and Obama put all those regulations in. So I knew that he was probably gonna, if he won, he probably was gonna undo, I mean, like put back all the Obama policies that Trump removed. And I'm really happy to see that he did that, where he spoke about it in the speech, and he has this proposal. So I'm really happy at Joe Biden for that. And the Washington Redskins officially retired their name and their logo. So we have no idea what it's going to be, but it's looking good, and it's good that they did retire their name and logo. So if you guys like the video, please like and subscribe. I appreciate all the support, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.